That's the year I graduated from high school, and so my wife and I are running up on 45 years.
Well, in about 68, I came to the AFES station, and well, was that on Maxwell or just off the base maybe? It was on a railroad track. I remember that much.
Well, I went from that assignment. Oh, another thing that was interesting. My detailer said he's nominating me for aid to what do they call it? Sink pack. An aid to sink pack.
Wow.
I said, I don't want an aid's job. He says, well, it's a good career move. I said, no, I don't want it. He said, well, if you say you don't want it, he said, it'll look bad in your record. But he said, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna go ahead and nominate you. And there's one more guy that's been nominated. There's two of you. And he said, I won't push it for you, because I know you don't want it. And I said, well, what's my fallout position? He says, I'll find you a good job. And he sent me to a guided missile cruiser, a DLG, a large DLG.
Which one was it?
That was when I left here in '67. And so I went as executive officer on the DLG, the Dahlgren DLG number 12. Well, anyhow, to make it long story short, the other guy was nominated, which they wouldn't tell me who it was a brother to a young ensign out of the academy that worked for me on the USS Hull. Tom Mustin. Well, his older brother, Henry Mustin, and their father was an admiral. The Mustin Officers Club.
Mustin Beach, yeah.
That was a family. Well,
Oh my.
I could have been Admiral Mustin, not Admiral Mustin.
You would.
But I could have been the sink pack's aide. He said I could get you that if you want it. Well, Hank went on and did it, and he made admiral. But that's what my detailer was trying to tell me. That would be but I never wanted to be on the staff like that. That wasn't my idea of being a rambunctious naval officer, you know. I always looked down on aides, I have to tell you that.
Yeah, rear echelon. You wanted to be out front. And so
So the Dahlgren then
yeah.
lasted a year and a half. Like you don't stay there very long. I qualified for command of a ship like that. I'd already commanded when I was a lieutenant on the. Actually, it was on the first ship where I stayed 4 or 5 years. I went through a rigorous qualification for command because I'd moved to department head on that first ship. And I was the operations officer on that ship as a lieutenant junior grade. And they had a qualification program after a certain amount of study and sending off this and that. Then you actually take a ship to sea under the aegis of another commanding officer of a similar ship and a division commander, and they put you through actually a war scenario. You get the ship underway, you're the SEAL, you're the acting SEAL. You get the ship underway, you go out to sea, they fly airplanes in over you, and you have to order general quarters, you got to do all that. So I went through the whole thing and qualified for command of a destroyer. And they put a little tick in your record in those days showing that you were qualified. And I had some friends who came out of the Naval Academy at the same time I was commissioned. And I beat them out, several of them. And that's hard to do.
Definitely.
They kind of smile on those young fellas, you know.
Right, Academy always gets first pick.
But anyhow, I left the Dahlgren and went to Washington on the Joint Chiefs of Staff, or OJCS. And I had also avoided going there. And finally, my detailer at that time said, look, you've got to get Washington duty in your record if you're ever going to mount anything. And I said, well, throw me in the briar patch. And so they did that. And while I was in OGSS J3 and OJCS in an office with a purple suited crowd, I was the only naval officer of the Army and Air Force, and our boss was a 2-star Air Force officer, a general. And the Navy, I was still wanting to command a destroyer at that time. And the Navy said, well, we're building a lot of destroyers right now. If you can get your boss to release you early, we think we can get you one. So I approached my 2-star, and he said, you know, I know how important that assignment would be to you. He said, I'll tell you what I'll do. The Navy will probably, if they transfer you, it'll take them 5 months to get somebody in here to replace you. If you get the guys you're working with, the other guys, to carry your load during that 5 months, and I'll let you go. And they all said, we want you to have that job. And they said, we'll cover his.
Oh, that's great. All the guys stood behind you and took up for you and let you go.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And so
Good bunch of guys.
I had orders then to go to Washington area, the state of Washington, where they're building some destroyers. And it was the 1052 class of destroyers. It's a follow-on of the O'Callahan.
Yeah.
O'Callahan was the last one of the Garcia class. And then the 1052s, I was scheduled, I had the name of the ship, and I don't remember what it was, and everything. And they were to move my family out there, because that's a long, when you go to the shipbuilding business, so they're going to move my family, we're all going to, well, here we were thinking about living in the state of Washington, and all of a sudden, my orders were changed. They said, look, we have a destroyer just arrived in the Pacific. It's very similar to the one you're going to, and it's pretty new. And said, we've got to have a replacement. And that was the O'Callahan. I said, well, I'm at your mercy. And
What happened to cause that replacement?
John Corner, was he the
Yeah,
guy
Corner, yeah.
He had some kind of an issue, and I don't remember what it was. He wasn't in trouble, other than I think it was a family issue or something. They didn't relieve him for cause.
Yeah.
But they relieved him early. I don't think he was on there too long.
Oh, and you picked it up in Vietnam, didn't you? Or
What they did, they flew me out to the Philippines, and then put me on a cod flight, and flew me to a carrier, and behind the carrier was the O'Callahan. We landed on the carrier, and the helicopter put me over on the O'Callahan on the old flight deck before we got the new.
Yeah.
And I think 2 days later, after we had the change and I got to see everything was running good and all, took John and put him on a carrier and then flew him back to the Philippines and back to the U.S. But
Wow.
you know, that was probably the best thing that happened to me, that particular assignment.
It was for me.
When you're successful in combat as commander, that's the best thing you can get in your hat for further promotion and so forth. And I think that really did me a favor. And another thing, again, I think it was providential. This was a flagship named after a chaplain, and I always felt an aura on that ship, that the ship had some of the, I don't know, spirituality, if you want to say it.
Yeah.
About the ship and its namesake.
Well, the whole heritage
Yeah.
that comes with it is
And,
impressive.
So that was probably the best assignment I could have. But then, coming off of we came back to the shipyard, if you remember.
Yeah, but you spent a little bit of time knocking around on the coast of Vietnam. You did a little bit of shore bombardment, didn't you?
What was that?
Didn't you do a little bit of activity off Vietnam before you came back?
Oh, yes. You were on there then. You remember?
No, I didn't catch you till you got back to the yards.
Okay. All right. We were leaving with the destroyer from Subic Bay after a brief R&R, heading back to the war zone off of coastal